What if an American hero was killed by his own side? What if the army knew and lied about it? What if a Pat Tillman's family waited years for a truth every American deserves to hear? And stay with me. What did Pat Tillman's walks away from the millions? And what happened in the Spera district of Afghanistan? Why did the army burn Pat Tillman's uniform? Who signed the falsified Silver Star recommendation? And you know what did Mary Tillman find in those documents? How many times did army officials lie under oath? Why is Pat Tillman's name still used by people who buried the truth? If they lied to Pat Tillman's family, who else? And what does this mean for every American Ghost Star family? And you know what? And what does this say about the institutions Americans still distrust? I'm going to answer every single question and every one of these questions today. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will never see Pat Tillman's story the same way again. I covered the American story, that powerful bury. Pat Tillman's is the most documented case of military cover-up in American history. Here is the thesis of this entire video. Pat Tillman's died as a hero. The army then created a fiction. And because the fiction was more useful than the man. And every American watching these sites now and this right now and needs to understand what that means, and not just the Pat Tillmans, for every soldier after him. And who was a Pat Tillmans before the army? Pat Tillman was a safety for the Arizona Cardinals. Pat Tillman rejected $3.6 million contract extension. He enlisted 3 weeks after 9/11. His brother Kevin Tillman enlisted the same day. Pat Tillman told the Arizona front office personally, no press conference, no announcement, just left. And you know what? Why did Pat Tillman really enlist? He kept journalists, documented his own thinking. Pat Tillman was skeptical of the Iraq war. He was reading Noam Chomsky while in uniform. He planned to meet with anti-war activists after his deployment. And the army knew who Pat Tillman really was. Not my first rodeo. Institutions fear the man they can't control. And what happens April 22, 2004? Pat Tillman's platoon split into two serials, and here it comes. The second serial comes under fire a canyon. The lead element, Pat Tillman's group, come to help. In the confusion, American soldiers opened fire on Americans. Pat Tillman was shot 3 times in the forehead from less than 35 feet away. You know what? That's the very critical. What did the army do immediately after? Army officials burned Pat Tillman's uniform and body armor. They destroyed evidence of the friendly fire direction. They wrote a Silver Star recommendation based on enemy fire. The enemy fire did not happen. The army used fratricide, killing your own plain English friendly fire, and then classified it. Who told it? Tillman's family the lie. General Stanley McChrystal sent a memo 5 days after the death. The memo flagged the risk of the wrong story going public. Pat Tillman's family received a Silver Star story. Bullshit. Documented. Confirmed. The Congressional testimony. Mary Tillman's, Pat Tillman's mother, fought for 3 years. 3 years to get documents the army tried to hide. What did Congressional investigations reveal? And 7 army generals were investigated for misconduct. Lieutenant General Philip Kissinger was censored. No criminal charges, not a damn thing beyond administrative action. The chickens came home to roast, but the hen house was protected. Every American family of every fallen soldier. And you know what? Deserved better than what Pat Tillman's family got. And was Pat Tillman's being used as a propaganda, as a tool? The White House and Department of Defense were aware of this, and Pat Tillman's death enemy hero story was broadcast nationally. Memorial service featured his fabricated story as inspiration. Politicians quoted him, recruiters used his image, all while the army health document proves a real cause of death. And you know what? What did Pat Tillman's family do with the truth? Mary Tillman wrote the book Boots on the Ground by Dusk. Mary Tillman founded the Pat Tillman Foundation, and Pat Tillman's brother Kevin testified before Congress. Kevin Tillman called out of manipulation publicly that took more courage than any press conference in American history, and he did that. And in this pattern, in American military history, Jessica Lynch, 2003, Iraq rescue, army fabricated her story too. Jessica Lynch herself corrected the record before Congress, and Jessica Lynch said the army story was not true. Sound familiar? And what does the pattern tell every American. Institutional betrayal. Plain English, when the institution meant to protect your lives to you instead, documented in American psychology research, the deeper you trust, the more devastated the betrayal. American military families trusted completely. The trust was used as a weapon against them. Sounds familiar, right? And Pat Tillman's death is not a tragedy, the cover up in the crime. Pat Tillman gave up everything an American man could give. The institution he served destroyed his truth after he was gone. Every American watching that right now, you know someone who trusted an institution that betrayed them. Maybe it was the VA, maybe it was a commanding officer, maybe it was his own government. Pat Tillman cannot speak anymore. We can. That's the only thing that matters now. And here it's come. What institution in your American's life told you what you needed to hear instead of what was actually true? Did you check in a seconds and comment your opinion in the comment box? I'm waiting for your comments. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching.